Hey everyone, welcome to today's video feedback. So if you want feedback on your work, check out my Patreon page for the information. So for this year, I'm also planning some more um, assignments and stuff, but more soon, more on that. So let's start with this first character. So I'm going to also talk a bit about painting. You asked before about it, Peter. But I want to talk a bit about construction. So when I'm drawing a character, I often start with these shapes. And I can see you're using these kinds of balls. So I think it would be more interesting to make them a bit more uh, exaggerated. So a bit wider, like this here. So here, and then here, this belly. I think it's more interesting if you make a shape like this here. Maybe something like this. So sometimes I draw through my shapes like this here. And then we can think about how is the anatomy of this character like this here. So maybe I think it's cool that they are going outwards. So maybe here. So maybe they're here attached to this part here. Now starting with these really basic shapes, what I often like to do is like to think in tubes, circles, and cubes. I often create my characters these kinds of shapes, and by combining these shapes, you can basically draw anything you want. So here, this shape here, this shape for this hand. Also the cylinder and a cylinder here and a ball to this. It's basically like we're 3D, getting 3D. So I'm also creating some depth in it. So here, and then this here, and then here this part here. And then we can draw in here this leg. So like this, here, like this, here. So also these are shaped like this, and this is flat, right? Can add some line here. So I'm thinking about it, construction, and yeah, I would suggest it's really good that you're painting and coloring. I would really focus on getting that construction more, yeah, a little bit more solid. What I mean with that is that it feels more 3D, and yeah, can become a little bit too stiff if you focus too much on that. But that's in the beginning not that bad. So here there's some overlap. Here basically there's the shape over this other shape, and that creates depth overlap. Creates some depth. So that's really nice. And here we have this head that's rotating this way, this mouth. This maybe this is overlapping this part here. And now we can create these glasses. So here, so these glasses are really solid. So you want to have this plane basically like this. And then you can start building on top of it. I start first really straight, and then I'm adding these corners here, like this here. And then you get that nice contrast um, between the organic character and and the glasses. So here, this eye is this side, and this eye is this side. Maybe adding, maybe pushing it a little bit to make it more crazy. And here we can have these, yeah, how would you call it? Eyelids, eyebrows, eyelids, of course. So now we've made this sketch. Yeah, let's do this. So here, let's copy this drawing. Let's move this drawing here. This one here, multiply. And then we can take this rock and maybe start drawing. So I think yours looks really great. It's just a little bit showing the approach I would use. I hope that that helps. Here, maybe giving some depth here. Don't have to draw in all these lines, but here creating some depth in these glasses. Maybe that's okay. I made a little mistake because that was a little bit flat here. So here, this goes this here, and this goes here. This goes down here. This. And then we can draw in this part, overlapping here. And then this goes here and down. Then we have this part, thickness. Here. And then here is cheek. Like this here. So here. And maybe we can add a lip like this here. So here's narrower than this part here. So I'm trying to create some depth there. Some eyes, a little bit of overlapping line. And of course, if you're going to paint, you won't see that much of that. But I'm also trying to do so. I see you doing a lot of corners like this, but maybe try to give some corners here, like this here, instead of the middle. It can create just a little bit more interesting here. So in these eyes, also, yeah, draw them around the shape. Really try to think about how is the shape wrapping around. So here, this goes here, and so like this here, then here this part, and this goes here maybe like this here. Um, maybe adding this nose here, which is interesting. Be here as well. I don't know. Can play around with this a little bit. Of course, this is something you can also add when painting. So I want to have this feeling that this head is attached to this body. So I leave this part open. Then we have this line here. Maybe adding a line here, and maybe just a little bit of a back. So although I added that construction, sometimes I'm still tweaking stuff. So I do think if I see this, and it's totally fine to change things and correct things, right? So maybe put this head a little bit forward, like this here. And then like this. And then we can make this belly, so this angle makes more sense. So then you also get this nice straight versus curved line. Almost willing to draw in belly button or something, and then we can draw in these arms. Think a little bit about anatomy. So something like this. Maybe I should figure out it a little bit more, and then we can start drawing here these shapes, right? So here, this toe here, and then this shape here, and maybe here, and that other side as well. Trying to create some depth. Going it a bit quickly because I don't want to focus too much time on this. Think about these overlapping lines. And of course, when you're going to paint it, you won't see all those overlapping lines. But it can help where you want to place extra shadow and stuff like this. That. So I'll talk a bit about that in a bit. So here, trying to find an interesting curve. So here, the S shape for his feet, like this here, and like this here. And then we can draw in this part. And then here, this one. I'm going like this here. And then this here. So, and then we've created this character. Um, yeah, I could tweak more, but this is basically my approach. And when I would add these spots, I would also think about how are these spots going around the body. So really think about those kinds of shapes. But yeah, great work, Peter. Let's talk a little bit about painting. So with painting, the most important thing is the contrast. And what can help if you, for example, make it gray tones. So check it out if you can see. So some things, then we can check some things that maybe could work a little bit better. Change those values. Think here these hands. And maybe if the background isn't white, that could work. Yeah, maybe here some parts like this, but snake's really clear silhouette, right? If you would make this real black, you would get a clear silhouette. Yeah, with the pentacles, I would use maybe a little bit more shadow to uh, to do that here. And the main thing here is yeah, again, the construction and the shapes, and that you have this here, these hairs like this here. I would change that a little bit, but I would do more with hairs like this. Maybe have this basic shape, and then maybe just draw something like this. And even when you're drawing in painting in realistically, yeah, let's look a little bit about that painting part. Um, you know what? Let's take that frog head I painted because I have the line sketch of that. So here. So we have the sketch. and put it here, and going to draw behind it. So I often start with yeah, a rough sketch like this here. This is empty, so that's good. And I usually like to use the lasso tool, and then I go and select the shapes I want to paint. Start with a big shape like the head. Here. So like this here. So I often start with a shape like this. So let's take your green. See how that green works. So that's fine. So then I have this layer selected and press this button. In Procreate, you also have that alpha masking. So let's take a soft brush. Let's make this brush a bit bigger. And let's start shading it. So like this here. We add some shading here. So there's this dark color. I think here. Also, yeah, around the mouth. But yeah, I will tweak that later, but I will start adding here this, make this part a little bit darker. I start really rough. Maybe make this part also a little bit darker. Let's take a green, lighter color, a bit towards yellow. I like to play around with this hue setting as well. So then you get this yellow here from the sun. You can also make this a little bit more towards blue here. It creates a bit more depth using a little bit of different tints in your drawing. Painting this here. So basically, I would add, yeah, don't be afraid to add a little bit more shading. And I have some shading tutorials. Maybe you can check those out for more tips about that. So maybe here this nose, also here, and here we can add some extra light here and make this even lighter. But that's basically how I would start painting, and then I would paint a layer on top of that, etc. But main thing is I would add a little bit more contrast, be a bit more values in your thing. So check out the painting tutorials if you want to learn more about that. But yeah, awesome work. I think you did a great job. So keep going, and I'll see you work next week, next month again. So let's go to Anthony. So let's look at this one. So this is really cool. Awesome drawing. I think that's really strong. Your painting is excellent, and also your character design. Only thing I would say, so yeah, also that flag's a bit dark towards the background, so maybe I would make the background a bit lighter or something there. Let's take a sketch brush, so something like this here. And let me draw on top. So I think your drawing would help a little bit more of an action line. So this beer is really important. So I would maybe do something like this here. I would make more dynamic. So maybe this arm is really being pushed forward, so like this, and then maybe here this beer, or maybe yeah, this beer is spilling here, or maybe the beer is spilling the other side, and the octopus thinking, oh, oh, I'm getting soaked by beer or something. So we're trying to get some more story. So maybe here this head. So let's have this head and let look at us. So I'm not going to focus on this sign because I think that's perfect. I want to focus on the feeling. I think you can add, if you can add a bit more energy in your drawing, it will be really, then it will get really going to be perfect. So here, and then maybe I think it's cool if this head towards this way, then the body is then towards this way. So Maybe something like this, and this breast is being pushed a little bit forward. Then here this leg. Yeah, I think it's cool if this wooden leg is in the front, like this here. And maybe he has his other leg. So here, oh, you can push his other feet at the chest or something. So you get, so I want to have a bit more dynamic. We can also do that, a wooden leg is here. So like here, and then you have this feet with this here. So I do like that. This doesn't have that, but yeah, that could be. So something like this, but to get it a bit more energy and pushed. So then here this, and like this here, maybe here this thing. Then this thing also points at the octopus, and then maybe the octopus is looking like this, right? And also here, give this octopus a nice energy, nice flowing lines. And then here, although I like overlap, I think it's maybe a bit more clear if this separate. Maybe something like this here. Just pointing towards the bear. And think about the background. So I would really think a bit about your flow and your energy in your drawing. I think your work's really great, but yeah, and this is our show, but I think it's really amazing, but it's a little bit stiff, and I think it could use a little bit more energy in it. I think that would make it way stronger, in my opinion. But yeah, great work. Let's go to Aramis, who made this really cool. I really like the anatomy of these wolves. Awesome work. So let's put this here. Let's make this bigger, maybe a little bit lighter. Uh, maybe here. This here. These. Maybe make this one a little bit bigger, for example. And maybe make this a little bit. Yeah, it's fine, but yeah, a smaller one. So you get that nice depth in it. But small parts. Maybe make here as well, even a bigger one or something. Maybe this one, then the darkest one or something. And that helps create that focus. But yeah, I really like the anatomy. The only thing maybe here, this is the same angle as this one here. So what I maybe would do is maybe change this feet like this here. Maybe it also adds a bit more story, that's searching or something. So you asked about the fur. But the feeling I have is I see lines like this. What I would do is, especially here, this part, if this is the shape you want to go for, really try to find some nice lines to follow that shape. So short lines, long lines, short lines, and try to let them follow the shape. I think you're doing that much better here. And also here, I can see that here. So here you're using these stylistic lines. And so do that here. The same here is a bit boring to do that here. So I would maybe leave these out. And yeah, I think this can help because this helps create this line for the head. And this one's also I like this part. This part not anymore because here we have these same lines again. So I would maybe yeah maybe do try to get some flow in those shading lines. Even here this shape here as well. So I think it could be a bit more interesting if you add a little bit more a shape like this here. You can also use those lines here. And then yeah, something like that here. So that's awesome. So here you have these lines going like this here. like this. Then the hair, maybe like that. Maybe play a bit around with it. I, of course, make everything really, really Disney. So yeah, depends for yourself how cartoony do you want to have those hairs. But I would try to, maybe could do some hairs here. Try to be really random with those shapes here. It is feels too mechanical or something. Really think about how is it wrapping around the body. Maybe you can also add some shapes here. But yeah, uh, great, great work. Awesome. Uh, yeah, very good. Let's look at Kate who made this lovely drawing. Put this here, this one down, multiply, a bit lighter. So let's see. Um, so yeah, cool. Maybe you can put this in an angle. Don't have to be, maybe. Depends a little bit on the style you're going for, but I think you did doing a lovely job. Maybe she's touching with her toe, this part here. I do like that you have this here, these angles in it. Maybe here give this angle, the hip, so maybe just a little bit of a twist here. Maybe this is side is, and you're already doing that closer to the legs than this side. Yeah, like this. And then maybe think about if you're adding here this neck, think how's this on her body? So if this is her chest, of course, it's a little bit stylistic drawing, but think about how the shoulders are connected and how this clothing is going over it. Now it floats on top of it. So if you have this and you're doing that here, the clothing will go wrap wrap around the body. So same here. So maybe give this a little bit like this here. That you get this swing here of that sleeve here. So yeah, I think it looks like you're adding here two different sleeves. So if this is a sleeve like this here, so this, so like this here, maybe, maybe exaggerate this part a little bit. I like to make everything really clear when drawing stuff. So maybe exaggerate those parts a little bit. I would also suggest what I said earlier for the first drawing I reviewed. Try to add a little bit construction to your drawings. So here we can have this hand here, and then here. So what I often do is when I'm drawing a hand, I start with one shape like this here, and then draw on top of that. It really helps creating that. Yeah, so I think try to add some and try to think about the construction. We can focus on that, this here. So here, this head, it's really nice. This cheek, and it can be straight like this here, this head. So think about how is this hair on top of the skull? How, yeah, big is that? And there's always needs to be some space between the hair and the skull. Where's this neck attached to? Then we have the rib cage, and then the pelvis like this here. Try drawing these things when you're drawing a character like this. So also try to design it. And then you can also reuse it for that other character. Then here we can go down here. Then here this part. And I like when these feet are always two angles. So you have an angle like this and an angle like this here. I do like this, yeah, this energy in this drawing. Here, maybe a bit more interesting if you put this arm a little bit more like this here. Then like this here, and then here we can give this character holding this board like this here. Yeah, so trying to go for some nice, yeah, some nice angles and some energy. So think about, yeah, using construction to build these characters. So in the drawing moment tutorials I'm going to make next month as well about poses. And yeah, these things I will go more in depth about. So maybe you can check that out. It's a good inspiration for me as well on what to kind of tutorials to make. Awesome work. Yeah, keep it up. Maybe make some more poses and send it for the next review. Let's go to Stephen who made this awesome drawing. I really like that you always go for challenge. So this is freaking awesome. Also cool that you added the sketch. So I really think the characters has a nice clear silhouette. Yeah, maybe one thing I would say is it's a bit hard to where to look at. Um, so think about those silhouettes. Maybe, yeah, I'm really going to play around with these things. So I think this is a bit faster than when I would draw it. So maybe I would have this character, move this character a little bit to here. And then move this character with this hand more to the corner like this here. Maybe make this even bigger. Maybe we can even also make this character also bigger. It's in the corner, so that's fine. So like this here, then we can this character maybe add it even in a bit more perspective. So I'm now really exaggerating stuff like this here. So maybe here, and then I would do that. Maybe this hand is going like this here. So there's also a bit more silhouette about their left. And then here, this hand is going like this here between these two characters. So something like this here. Then we have this arrow. I think that's fine. There can be some overlap, so that's fine. Some overlap here. I do like this arrow is pointing at this character. So like this here. Maybe here this character. I want to have room for that archer there. So maybe we can. Or maybe, in my opinion, maybe it works better if this character is jumping. You don't see this arm. Maybe here this character is looking at this here. And he is about to grab his head. So still didn't happen yet or something. There's some anticipation in here. It did happen. So you have some contrast in that storytelling. And you have this character, maybe even smaller here in the background, standing on a tree branch or something. I don't know. So here, maybe changing that arrow corner. And these trees are really cool that help with the dynamic of the drawing. So now we have something like this. And I think really cool, maybe have this X a little bit higher. So there's some more space between his head and that. Of course, you want some overlap, but I think there's enough overlap. I want to make it as clear as possible. So use clear silhouettes to make an interesting drawing like this, and awesome, yeah, awesome work. I think there's a really nice composition going on here, like this here. We're looking then at this one, and then we're looking at this, and then, oh, where's that arrow coming from? Oh, from this character in the background. So it's actually cool that this character is small in the background, so you see it as last. First you see, definitely see this character, then this character, then this character, and then this character. Yeah, I think you're really guiding the eye, and that's really important with these types of drawings, that you can guide the eye. Yeah, awesome work, Stephen, and the rest. So yeah, check out my Patreon on how to send your drawings for feedback, and I'd love to see you next time. Thanks, everyone. Have a great week. Bye bye.